I don't think Ange ball is sustainable, and I think this is the kind of the double-edged sword you get with Ange ball, is that beginning of seasons when everyone's fresh, there's no injuries, you can play the high press, the team are building on confidence, and maybe a run of games or something like that we've just had. The press starts to work really well, and then when the team's playing well, you'll notice Maddison plays well. When the team doesn't play well, he goes missing. And then, but what happens is when the players fatigue a little bit, when they get tired, when there's a slight dent in the confidence of the team after a bad couple results, the team doesn't start to press so well. It's a little bit disjointed, and then that Ange ball flips very quickly, and then you notice that it puts us on the back foot, and we actually look extremely vulnerable in that position. And I could just see in that second half that they weren't able to sustain the Ange ball, the high press. And then because of that, it allowed for the holes, the leakiness throughout the game. So I think a lot of that is down to the kamikaze ball that Ange is playing. I think that he's too one-dimensional in the way that he sets up the team, that he sees the 90 minutes. I don't think he's got the in-game management to adapt to different dynamics that occur within the game. And I think that's what ultimately costs us. And I think you're going to see games where we win 3-0 or we lose 3-0 or it's 4-4. It's going to be like that the whole season long.
John, you say that is like down to Ange's tactics and the way he sets us up to the team. But when you look at every goal that we conceded in that second half, none of it was down to because we were caught out with the high line. None of it was down to anything tactical. It was all down to individual errors. When you look at Udogi's mistakes, Romero's mistakes, Van de Ven's mistake, our defense was in a good system. Our defense was covered. We were covered. None of those goals should have happened.
Yeah, but you say that, but you can say every single goal you can see is down to some error. Every single goal. But the point is if you zoom in on the detail of it, you can see that there was errors, right? But zoom out a little bit, you can see that there was a momentum shift in that second half. That wasn't down to errors. That was actually down to the overall flow of the two teams and the energy and the winning the duels and the intensity, winning the second balls, all that kind of stuff. That's where the game was lost in the second half on more of a generalized level. And that is down to the system, the way that the team was set up and what Ange was trying to instill in the team. Has to be, right?
I don't think that's down to the system. I think it was down to the players on the pitch not implementing the fundamentals, what they had to do in the second half. I saw a clear lack of fight, a clear lack of motivation, a clear complacency issue within the team. The team weren't fighting in the second half as much they were fighting in the first half. I saw a lot of fight in that first half. I saw good mentality in that first half, and they came out second half in a completely different manner. I don't think that's tactical.
Look, John, when you look at that third goal, right? There's three players around Rutter. He's able to wriggle free out of those three players. When there's three players around him, he should never be able to get out of that situation. Bentancur is then, once he gets to the byline, he's in complete control of that situation, Bentancur, and he's tries to see the ball out of play instead of maybe putting out for a corner or something. Allows Rutter to get a slide challenge in, and then Welbeck has a free header because Romero's gone to sleep in the middle. Like, is Ange to blame because Rutter was able to wriggle past three players when surely Ange is in the setup we've got? There's three players around it. They should be able to deal with that situation. What's tactical? What would you like to see tactically in that situation that you would say, like?
I'm not talking about the individual mistakes. I'm talking about you have to look at the big picture in the second half and what was actually going on with the eye test of the like you said, the energy, the motivation, the duel, winning the duels. But
what's that got to do with tactics?
Tactics as in like the in-game management, like be able to change it up. When you're 2-0 up, you don't have to keep playing that high press. You can soak up a little bit of pressure, create an out ball, and try and change the game a little bit that way. You can use your subs earlier on in the game to sort of change things up a little bit. I feel like Ange's he's got plan A, but no real plan B, plan C. Doesn't know how to adapt when the going gets tough. I don't see him having a different way of changing things up in the moment to help the situation. And I think that does cost us to a certain degree. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answered it or not, but like, it's the same thing.
I think you're right. There was obviously a momentum shift, and I think Brighton were well on top of us in the second half, and Ange probably should have done more to change things when he saw things going wrong. But I don't think that's about Ange ball being unsustainable. I think that's on the day. Like, he didn't react quick enough, and things were, and when things were starting to go against us, we had no way of turning that around. But I don't think, my point is, I don't think that's to do with how he sets up the team or his tactics and all this kind of stuff, because I think in general, this season, actually, we've played quite consistently well. I think in general, apart from maybe that second half, we have limited the opposition's chances to a minimum, albeit some of them have been good chances, but we have limited them to a minimum a lot of the time. And I think the way he sets us up and the way we play isn't necessarily unsustainable, just because we like to press high and we play with a high line and we like to have attacking football. I think the way we've been playing, yes, there are going to be problems like this that occur in the season. Do we puff out too quickly on the hour mark, and do we have to start looking at making earlier changes to make sure we can maintain that intensity that we seem to have in the first halves? But that's an ongoing process that we have to overcome. But I don't think the overall way we play is unsustainable, is my point.
Well, we'll know by the end of the season as well, what happens. Because that happened last season. For the first couple of months, we were flying and everything was looking good. But then what started to happen, few key injuries, and then, the confidence was a little bit shot. And then you notice that the whole team started to not believe in Ange Ball so much, and you weren't seeing all the passing out the back as fluid as it was at the beginning of last season. And then it all started to kind of decay a little bit. We rallied a little bit, and then it kind of petered out towards the end of the season. And the same thing happened under Poch. We were high pressing, very high octane, very energetic, but then we'd still burn out with like a month to go, like under Poch. Apart from the season, we got 86 points. So, I'm just thinking that could still happen under Ange. We saw it last season. And I just think that, when you're watching the games and you're seeing the two at the back, at least under Poch, what would happen is Eric Dyer would come back and make a three and make it a little bit more stable. But we are really playing that front foot football where it is kamikaze. Let's be honest, it's kamikaze ball. And so this is what you're going to get with Ange, these kind of results. So you've got to kind of take the rough with the smooth of it a little bit. You've got to kind of accept it, I guess.
Brian, I want to bring you in here. Which side of the argument are you with? Do you think it was a tactical issue in that second half, or do you think it was just the players with a clear lack of motivation and a clear complacency issue?
I think it's a bit of both, in all honesty, to sit on the fence. But I am leaning a lot more towards, we'll come on to Ange later, I think these players need to stand up and take a long, hard look at themselves. As I said, I think when we talk the leadership team and leaders, Spurs seem to have, we call people leaders experienced. Is Jay Maddison a leader? No, I don't think he can lead a conga line. He's experienced. He's played games. I don't think there is a leader in there. Romero is all well and good and happy to slap people across the back of the head or punch people when we scored a goal. Where's that anger, aggression, and kind of commitment when the chips are down? Where are these people standing up saying this is unacceptable? How can we do this? John's right with we cannot keep doing this 90 minutes. It's unsustainable to play that high line and impact and all energy for 90 minutes. No team can do it. No team can do it. Even Pete Poch.
Exactly.
Had to make changes. You cannot do it. But there are players on that pitch, or a lack of players, that will not tolerate this and say, listen, this is unacceptable. We need to buck up, stop acting like this, hit it into Rosette if you need to, whatever. So whereas Ange comes in for criticism, and rightfully so in this game, you're right. In the first half, it's all well and good. We were playing well. Like John said, there were chances being created, but they weren't taken. We had opportunities to stretch the lead, didn't take them. But when the chips are down, go look. And you two boys, as well as many others that are probably in the chat, were there live, and a lot of us got to see it on TV. The body language of some of these leaders were abysmal and shameful. And there's no accountability held for it. And I think we've got to stop using the word leaders, because we don't have any. They're experienced.
Yeah, when you talk about taking accountability for that performance, particularly in the second half, at least James Maddison was the only one in the whole squad that actually took accountability for that and came out on social media after the game and said it was completely unacceptable. And, it's up to them to build that with the fans again and to put it right in the next game. It's just... obviously with Spurs, it's before an international break where these kind of performances happen, and we got 2 weeks to mull over it. At least James Maddison's not going to England, and he's got 2 weeks to work on the training pitch with Ange now. But
But I guess the debate we're having here is did the second half happen because they were asked to do too much and they were running on empty, or did the second half happen because the players themselves came out thinking the game was won and got complacent? Like where are we at with that?
It's the latter for sure. Of course, it's the latter.
Let me just.
John is implying it's the former.
So what I will say with this is, like Ben said, James Maddison's the only one that's come out and said anything. How many times have we heard Tottenham Hotspur social media, our players, come out after the fact to say, "Oh, we're sorry, we come back bigger, we learn from this, we get stronger." Yeah. We do. It's always after the effect. Now,
exactly. They can't apologise before the game, can they?
No, but they can show it on the pitch. They can show it on the pitch at the time, can't they? I said it before. The James Maddison, when the team's actually playing well and it's purring, he looks incredible. Like, he actually really starts to shine, right? When the team starts to dip a little bit, he goes completely missing. And I remember having this conversation before we signed him, and people were asking me, should we sign James Maddison? Because I've got some Leicester City fan friends, you know, they said exactly the same thing. He goes missing in those games. He doesn't actually grab the game by the scruff of the neck. When you need a player to, like, really pick the team up and get things going, he's not that type of player. He's the type of player that adds those beautiful little touches to the team when the team's all performing nicely and it's like a nice cohesion to the team. But when that doesn't happen, like that second half against Brighton, you notice that he doesn't really do enough for me to show that leadership. You know, I don't think he does. I don't think he's that type of player anyway.